you know, again, having all this energy, do you feel that you have your anxiety creeps up when you're not being productive?
I think that art definitely saved me. Like I'm people say stuff like that, and it sounds like cheesy and cliche or whatever, but if I didn't have art, I don't know honestly like how I would, because I so much of my energy, that's what I channel into, is the creative process of writing songs and creating music and creating art and then creating visual representation for that sonic sound that you create, and the whole all-encompassing creative direction side of it. I mean, I love it all and I'm involved in it all. So I definitely think that I honestly don't know what I would be doing or who I would be without.
Welcome everybody to Casting for Two, the podcast that is always hosted by me, Chris. Welcome everybody to episode number 478, and I know I've been quiet for a bit. There's been life stuff going on, a lot of it not fun, which I will get into on this month's A Perfect Waste of Time, because I don't want to talk about it right now. I need some I need some space for me to be able to talk about it. But you know, all you need to know is I'm feeling better now, and I'm happy to chat about my guest today, who is just a phenomenal singer, songwriter, like artist in general, and making a return is the always wonderful LAYKE is back. We last chatted back in 2018. And she's back with a new album, a new EP called Frequency. I recommend everybody check it out, because I think it's just so wonderful. She's wonderful. Like, everything's wonderful about this episode, all right? But you know what? It's probably easier for me to stop talking about how wonderful it is, and you just listen to it, all right? So everybody sit back, relax, and LAYKE, take it away. Now, I know it's been a little bit, but the last time we chatted was in 2018.
I know. It's been a minute. It has been a minute, and it's so exciting to be back here talking with you today. Thanks for having me.
Of course. It certainly has been a minute, but it's unfortunate that nothing in the world has happened since then. So we're going to have a boring chat, because literally I can't think of one thing that happened in the world since that time.
Nothing's happened at all.
Nothing at all. So yeah, but no, I'm excited, and after chatting with you, again, back then, you were one of the people that I periodically just kind of go back and just kind of see what you're doing and check out what new music you have coming up, or, just because after, again, our last chat, I was like, I want to keep tabs. I want to hear more from you. So,
oh my God, thank you. That's so flattering. I appreciate the support. That's amazing.
Of course. And, yeah. So again, when I saw the opportunity, I was like, yeah, absolutely. I want to talk to her again. Because again, it's going to be a whole kind of different thing. Just because again, nothing's happened in the world. No. I am curious though, because again, I know, joking aside, we all went through this experience together as far as the pandemic goes. I'm just kind of wondering how the pandemic was for you. Did you use it as a creative time, or something to kind of look within yourself? How was it for you?
I think it was all of the above of what you just said. I mean, I definitely used it as a creative time. I had some music lined up that I wanted to release in 2020. And originally, a couple of the songs that are coming out on my EP that will come out at the end of July were going to be coming out in 2020 with other releases, Bad Things and Tonight Can't Be the Last Time, and Going Out on a High, which were three songs that I did end up putting out, because kind of made a decision that I wanted to still put something out creatively, even though it was a weird time, especially for independent artists, because, you know, we don't have the, you know, the end all budgets and the end all of end alls to do everything. And I think at that time it kind of went from, you know, people doing stuff in one way to all of a sudden everybody was doing stuff with like CGI and stuff basically that they could access. You know, people, big artists could have like these kind of, you know, sets built in their backyards type thing, you know?
Right.
And then you've got artists like me, you know, trying to figure it out. So I was working with a couple of, you know, with one director, O'Reilly Davis, and at the time, and the makeup and hairstylist I've been working with since 2014 for years, Zena Hodge. And we, the three of us, did all of my shoots and videos in the course of like 2020 for those three songs. And I put those out tentatively, but I was like, you know, I want to put something good into the world because there's a lot of crap happening, you know, and people need to hear good things. Not saying that my songs are going to solve the world's problems or anything by any means, but, you know, if you can even help reach a couple people with your music or even one person, you know, it's like, to me, that's important because it's hard out there. It's literally really rough out there. And 2020 was weird. So for me, it was like this kind of dichotomy of having my own personal struggle with anxiety and how that turned into some songs that I ended up writing in 20 and 2021 that were about my struggle with anxiety that are now on the upcoming EP. And then I kind of ended up writing some dance bops because I think everybody was kind of dancing around the house a lot to kind of deal with the stress. You know?
Right. Not only were we were making bread and we were dancing. That's what we were doing during the pandemic.
Well, I have Crohn's disease, so I can't make bread. But I took the dancing route. So I was in the dancing route. I was getting creative with certain recipes. You know, you start making really, really creative charcuterie plates and stuff. Yeah. But, you know, but minus the bread. But so, you know, I think this EP, like, you know, 2 of the songs came from songs that were ready in the beginning of 2020, you know, just finished. And then the other 4 were written over the course of 2020 and 2021. So the pandemic was really good creatively, but it was, you know, I started delving into talking about my personal struggle with anxiety in some of these songs, in 3 of the songs on the EP that's coming out at the end of July. And that was really hard for me because I've never really openly talked too much about anxiety. So it was a weird time for me, but it was also a really like explorative time. And it was also like a freeing kind of time, but it was also really stressful. So it was a lot in one. I think everybody was going through the gambit of emotions though, you know?
Right. Yeah. It was just, if you were a person that was not going through a single thing during the pandemic, I'd be like, what, oh, no offense, but what's wrong with you? Because I just feel like there was so much going on. And especially with artists, I talk to a lot of artists and I would just say, is it weird releasing something right now? And all of them were just like, this is weird. I don't like releasing a single or an album, you know, something. And it's just like, it's all weird. And, you know, the fact that you were just like, you know, I want to put some good out there because people can enjoy this and, you know, hopefully it'll take their minds off all the reality that is going on, the massive amount of reality. Like, why not do that? So I'm glad that you did that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course. And you mentioning anxiety is something that, you know, we all, I refuse to believe not every one person doesn't have anxiety. We all have some form of anxiety, but when did you notice for you that you started that it was, you know, very noticeable for yourself?
I mean, I've always been a very hyperactive kind of person. I was the kind of kid that they said had ADHD, but it never affected in my schoolwork in any way. Mm-hmm. Like I was always pretty good at school. And, you know, I think that, you know, they start getting into like, oh, medications and this and that when the kid's not doing well in school. I was just really, really like, I have a lot of energy naturally. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of I was born with a lot of energy. And there's a point in life, you know, especially we go through things in life. And I think that especially like any human being, I've lived through certain trauma experiences that have caused me PTSD. I think, like you said, I think, you know, honestly, it saddens my heart to say, but I agree with you. Like, I agree that to some, I say this, everybody experience, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone experiences anxiety and depression to some degree. It's just some of us need a little help with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, as a human being, we go through emotions, and it's okay to be sad sometimes. It's okay to be, a little stressed out sometimes. Like, this is natural. It can't always be like, homeostasis, because that's not how humans function,
Right.
But some of us need a little more help with it. But definitely, I mean, for me, with anxiety, I there's a point in life, where you go through certain traumatic events, and I think they cause PTSD, and it becomes, and the older you get, and also the more stressful that life gets, sometimes it becomes that energy is hard to harness in sometimes like a good way, and you have to learn how to channel it, because it can be so much energy, and it can really become debilitating and turn into like debilitating anxiety about the world and about your life and about many, any various things, So as having generalized anxiety disorder, I think I was naturally born with a lot of energy, and I think the world is the way it is. So you have to, at a certain point, learn how to channel that energy and not let it, kind of defeat, overtake you in a negative way, and utilize it in a positive way. And that's kind of my personal struggle with anxiety, is how to make sure to channel that energy, so that I am, at a point where I feel good, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to stressed out on a daily basis, which is not a way to live your life. You know what I mean?
Right. And so would you say that again, having all this energy, do you feel that you have, your anxiety creeps up when you're not being productive, or, managing this energy into some sort of, whether it be your music or your videos, anything like that?
I think that art definitely saved me. Like, people say stuff like that, and it sounds like cheesy and cliche or whatever, but if I didn't have art, I don't know, honestly, like how I would, because so much of my energy, that's what I channeled into, is the creative process of writing songs and creating music and creating art, and then creating visual representation for that sonic sound that you create, and the whole all-encompassing creative direction side of it. I mean, I love it all, and I'm involved in it all. So I definitely think that I honestly don't know what I would be doing or who I would be without music and creating. And I think that definitely having that as an outlet is a huge, benefit to my personal soul. If I didn't have that, I would not be the same person. I wouldn't be, but I still struggle, even having a great creative outlet, I still struggle. So I think it's really important for all of us to have a conversation about the stigma around mental health issues. And because a lot of people don't talk about it. And there's also a lot of disparity in access to resources for mental health,
right?
Just like there is in any other medical situation, there's, certain marginalized communities that don't have near the same kind of access as others communities do in these kind of forums. And there's also communities where it's, culturally, where it's just not really talked about. I mean, my father is Italian. He's from Italy. They didn't really talk about their emotions,
right,
you know what I mean? Growing up with their dad, and he wouldn't go to therapy. He's just, he's fine. He doesn't need to, but you know what I'm saying? There's a whole culture of people that in cultures and age groups, and there's just so many things around mental health and reasons why it's stigmatized. And it needs to be something where the walls are broken down, and we need to have really open conversations, because there's a lot of violence going on in the world. And I do believe that a lot of it, and I'm not excusing people going out and enacting violence in the world in any way, but I do think that mental health is where we need to start having real conversations about it, because that is a lot of this is the effect of that, of the not having open conversations about mental health, people not having access to resources, and therefore a lot of certain types of things happen, which again, I'm not excusing people, being violent in any way, but I think that there are problems with mental health in this country and around the world that need to be addressed. And there also needs to be an open dialogue about people having access to resources, and also seeking out help and feeling comfortable seeking out help.
Right. And there's this huge stigma about, the older generation that is very much, and I don't want to generalize, but again, I feel like there's this, well, I never had this issue, so it doesn't exist, or it's not true. But obviously, as more people come into the world at various ages, whether it's millennials or Gen Z or whatever, obviously there's going to be this baggage that we have to carry, and go through that the previous generation just didn't want to deal with because it was something they didn't know how to do or whatever. I don't want to make excuses, but the fact that mental health is an issue that people are talking about and really just like when I went to school, there's no such thing as like, ADD, ADHD. Those kids, we don't know how to take care of them. We'll put them in special needs classes, I guess. Who knows? Because I guess they can't learn the same. But now versus there's programs that, oh no, they're all just like regular students. We have there's so much that we've learned from then, and I'm just so curious to see how much more we're going to learn with people like you and other people that are like, no, we need to talk about this. This is important because we can't keep acting like it doesn't exist.
100%. I mean, you made a lot of really great points there. It's definitely like the more open the dialogue, the more comfortable people are going to be seeking out help. That's a huge part of the stigma, is that reaching out for help is like weakness or, and that you're right. That relates to older generations. And again, I'm not trying to put a blanket, like you said, anything on any stereotype on anything, but there is stuff that's passed down generation to generation. There's a lot of stuff that has to be unpacked from previous generations. And I do feel like millennials and Gen Z and no one ever talks about Gen X, like ever.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and Gen X on some level, because I have some sisters that are Gen X because I have 3 sisters. So I feel like, it's each generation is getting better, but it's something that needs to happen faster because there's a lot of issues going on and there's a lot of violence in the world. And I think a lot of it stems from, like you said, like years and years of trauma building on trauma, and there's ancestral trauma. There's all kinds of stuff people need to deal with that they're not facing,
Right.
And it's not an excuse for anyone to be violent ever on any level for any reason at all. But we need to start addressing the source of the problem, because there's a reason why there's all this happening,
Right, exactly. Yeah, just kind of, saying, admitting there is a problem and then just, going forth instead of just saying like, there's nothing wrong. Nothing ever wrong. But, and so going back to, you were saying how you, off your latest EP coming out here soon, you wrote about your anxiety when you were doing that and presenting it to your trusted group. Was there a bit of hesitance on your part to share it?
I mean, I think when I started writing the first song that was about anxiety on this EP, I wrote it with my producer, Adrian Gervitz, and Brandon Coulbain, who's an amazing songwriter, and he's an artist himself. And, kind of walked in the studio. Each day is different. You kind of talk about how you're feeling each day. What do you want to get into this day? And that day I was stressed out, and I was talking about my anxiety when I walked in because I was really anxious. It was like anxious driving to the studio, like type situation. Because that's how anxiety is. Like sometimes you feel like, I think maybe I had to maybe take a lift that day because I was like too anxious to drive. And like, because it's like that happens, or like you're just for no reason, you wake up anxious and you're just like, I don't feel good getting on like the road. So I'm not going to get behind the wheel of a car, not feeling not stressed, especially in Los Angeles, you know what I'm saying? So, and I was talking about that, and Brandon was like, why don't we dig into that? And we started, writing Help Me Out, which was about, kind of says, I need you to jump in my head, forget where you've been and focus all you have on me. I need you to walk in my steps. Like it's basically saying to somebody, I need help and I need to reach out. And that song was really important. I think it was an important moment for me and like a turning point. And after that, the other pieces of work that on this EP that were written about my anxiety kind of came naturally. Everybody was really supportive. It was kind of just a natural thing. And like I said, it ended up being half songs about my anxieties, mental health struggles, and half dance bops, which turned out really cool. It was a cool dichotomy of like the representation of the past couple of years,
Yeah. Okay. And again, I just like the fact that you were, I'm not, I'm glad that you were able to write down how you were feeling and turn it into something, of course. Have you had the opportunity to play live at all since in the past couple of months, or during the pandemic?
During the pandemic, I did like four or five live streams over the course of the pandemic, which was awesome, like through 2020 and 2021, because I hadn't been on stage in a second. I mean, we were planning on that was the whole thing. We were going to start all the live shows and everything with this new run in 2020, and that kind of put a halt on everything. So we kept it going with, some live performances. Like I did a pride performances live and various other things, which was awesome over the course of the 2 years. But now we're looking into now that we have like these records that have started to come out, and they're really getting a great response. And I was a little bit nervous, honestly. Like I wanted to see, that's why I wanted to put Help Me Out first and just, rip the Band-Aid off and talk about the thing I'd never talked about before, which was because I always talk about interpersonal relationships and this and that and the other and what's going on in my life personally and kind of on the greater scale of the world as well, politically and in that sense. But this was different, this was really, really deep. Mm-hmm. So when I started seeing the response, now we're kind of getting in talks of like, okay, we need to start getting into some live shows, which is awesome. So we're in talks and starting that process, which is really amazing because my favorite thing is stage.
Yeah.
I love it all, but I love stage. And then we're also getting into starting this now, like this summer, to remix some of my catalog, which is really awesome. So the combination of getting like some live show ready and then remixing some songs is I'm really excited. It's like it's a whole, it's really fun stuff coming.
Nice. And I'm glad that you got a lot of fun stuff coming up. I'm curious though, as far as the live show aspect, is there a song off the EP that you're looking forward to performing?
I mean, the whole EP, I love it. Mm-hmm. I really I've never been happier with something I'm putting out, which is really exciting because you just want to keep personally feeling like you're getting, better at telling the stories, at putting the messages in the songs, at giving the creative vision. So I hope I'm just getting better as I go, but I really feel that I stepped up as like an artist and a creator with this whole project creatively and sonically and visually and everything. So I love them all, but XOXO, which is coming out on June 24th, is really my dance love letter to the LGBTQIA plus community, to the queer community. It's a song that's really near and dear to my heart. I love this song so much. It might be my favorite song that I've ever written. I co-wrote it with Sarah McTaggart, who is also a bisexual, pansexual individual like me. Mm-hmm. So we really bonded on that. And she is the lead singer of a band called Transviolet, and they're really awesome. And we just had the best time writing this song. And it's definitely, a queer love letter, a love letter to the queer community. And I can't wait for people to hear it. And we actually shot the video a few weeks ago, which will be coming out on June 24th as well. And it's just so fun. And there's such fun choreography, and it's going to be a whole vibe that y'all haven't seen from me yet. So I can't wait I would love to do that on stage. I think I would love to perform that. And I would love to perform that like at a Pride event, at some point. It would be amazing, so yeah, fingers crossed.
No, that sounds amazing. I'm sure, I can't wait to hear it, but I'm sure that it'll become an anthem, and you'll be able to perform at not only one, but like many Pride festivals. I'm going to say all of them. Every Pride festival all that happens, you're going to be there. I know it.
Yes. This is the energy we want.
But for the people at home who want to pick up the new EP, follow you online, things like that, where can they do all that?
Well, the new EP will be out on July 29th. It's called Frequency, and that will be the full EP, as well as the new single will be coming out the next single will be coming out June 24th, which will be XOXO. And you can find me on all social platforms at LAYKE Official, which is LAYKE Official. And you can find me on all streaming platforms at LAYKE, which is LAYKE.
There we go. And again, I'm super looking forward to all the new music that you have coming up in the pipeline. And I just thank you so much for stopping by again. Again, it's been such a huge pleasure seeing where you've gone, and from the last time we talked, and I don't want to, I wasn't going to mention this, but like hanging out with Snoop Dogg, that must have made you feel a little bit cooler, right?
I mean, honestly, it was like I was so nervous because he's so like cool, and I was like, how do I not look like a fool? Or like, how do I not make a fool of myself in front of Snoop Dogg? But he was the nicest.
Yeah.
I mean, he is so like, he has an energy and an air about him that is so like comforting and nice and like just down to earth, that even though he's like legendary, literally like legendary, I felt it was an amazing experience. And I mean, I definitely like, I'm not mad about that experience. I definitely have, that is definitely on one of my big tops on my list of cool things I've done for sure.
So he just has, I feel like he has this thing about, he knows how he affects people. So he knows how to act accordingly and just be like, hey, I'm going to make you feel fine because, we're all people. We're all in it, especially a project like this where you're, doing a song together. So obviously he knows what to do. So that's what I'm trying to say. So.
Well, we'll see. Originally, we did the song, and then it turned into the video. So I never expected the video because that wasn't like originally supposed to happen. And so when that became an opportunity, that it happened very fast. So it was kind of like, oh goodness, like what's happening? Wow, how is this happening? And he was just, like I said, like the coolest. I mean, the coolest, nicest, chillest, like warm-hearted, like kind, but also like really, really like legendarily cool, like just like you would expect Snoop to be. He was just everything wrapped into one. He was fabulous.
Fantastic. Yes, I'm glad to hear that. I've Snoop Dogg is one of those people who's just, he can be in anything and be appropriate towards any kind of demographic. Legitimate. Or like if he pops up in a kid's movie, hey, fantastic. Or if he's with rapping with NWA, or at the Super Bowl helping 50 Cent down from the rafters, like it doesn't matter. He's just transcendence.
Yes, he transcends the moment.
Exactly. Oh, it's so great. But again, phenomenal getting to chat with you. And please, you have the open invitation, so come back anytime you want, okay?
Well, thank you so much, Chris. It's been so great talking with you. I've had a fabulous time now 2 times, and I will definitely look forward to the next time we chat.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it as well. But you have a wonderful rest of your day, and keep staying safe and healthy, okay?
All right, you too. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.